Hi there, this is Jacqueline with Nikkelanddimedecor, and I have got a stuffed up nose today, so excuse me if I sniffle. Raising the bar, lap quilt or baby quilt. I'm going to go through the measurements with you and show you how I cut everything and give you some tips. You get a pen and paper, pencil and paper, and we'll just write our own pattern. If I am going to put a picture of the pattern on, and you can do a snapshot, screenshot, and save it, and if you have a printer, you could print it off, but we are going to see what we can do, okay? Also, remember I told you that you could go to, I think, allpeoplequilt.com and get the pattern. Okay, now this has a little template with it, and I know you don't have the template, but I'm going to show you how to make the template. Very simple. Okay, I'm going to put the camera down to show you, but this is what we're talking about. That's our quilt that we're going to do. So cute. A beginner's quilt. You can do it quite easy, okay? All right. Let me put the, well, first let me go through the fabric requirements, okay? Write down that you will need a jelly roll. A jelly roll consists of approximately 40 2.5-inch strips. You do not have to have a jelly roll. You may cut your own 2.5-inch strips. If you have a 1/2 yard, a 1/4 yard, you can put it selvage to selvage and cut you 2.5-inch strips. Out of each strip, I got 5 of our rectangles that we need. So if you want to use your scraps and come up with 90, 7 1/4 by 2.5 rectangles, more power to you. It's doable. I don't want you to ever think you have to go and spend a lot of money on something. There are other ways to do this, okay? But if you do use a jelly roll, if you use one of them, you know, there's usually 2 fabrics alike. If you use just one and you get 5 of them, 20, a 1/2 of a jelly roll times 5 is 100, and you need 90. So you're not going to use the whole jelly roll. And what I was thinking was, well, then why not use it as your binding? You got the 2.5-inch strips, sew them together, use them as your binding. That's just an option. Okay, then you're going to need 1 1/4 yards of, they call it the green dot right here. And it's sashing, inner border, and the binding. 1 1/4 yards. 1 yard for these big 6-inch borders. 1 yard. 3 1/4 yards for your backing. Of course, your batting, 58 by 61. And then we'll get into the ribbon and the rickrack and all of that later when we're ready to do it. But you do need a package of 5 1/3 yards of 1-inch ribbon, 5 1/3 yards, 1 1/4 wide rickrack. I couldn't find 1 1/4 yards of rickrack, so I'm going to have to go online and find it. You definitely need it that big, because I got 3/4 inch, and that won't work at all. So see what you can find. Then you need iron-on fusible web, and some buttons, and I'm telling you, the cost of buttons, I don't believe I'm going to put buttons. I think I'm just going to cut out, fussy cut some circles and put them on my crosses. I think so. They're just outrageous, and you need 12 of them. Just 2 little buttons is $4.99 or $5. And I'm not going to pay that much, $30 more for buttons. I'm not going to do it. But now, I might find them online for much, much cheaper. I don't know. Okay, so that's your requirements now. That's your fabric requirements. Now I'm going to put the camera down and I'm going to show you. Because, you know, my colors are not these colors. So, yeah, I don't want you to get confused when I put the camera down, but okay, now, for the green dot, I had a yard and a fourth of this, and this is my green dot. But what I want to tell you to be careful is, you know how I'm always saying that you have so much fabric left over after you've cut something? I didn't know if I was going to make it. I just couldn't see how I was going to make it, because to cut out all of your crosses, here's my template, and here's my crosses. You need 12 of them. Well, when you put your 1 1/4 inch piece of fabric out, you have to cut 16 of these little 1 inch strips. So I did that. I cut out these 16 1 inch strips. And then I had enough room to cut out, I think, 10 of them, just straight across. Then I needed 2 more, and this was all I had left. And if you will note, you barely. So when you're trimming your selvages or doing anything like that, be so very careful. Take a tiny 1/4 inch off of each side to even up your edges, you know, when you start cutting. Just don't get slap happy and start trimming a whole bunch off, because this is a very tight squeeze on this 1 1/4. So 16 1 inch strips for your sashings, 12 of your crosses out of your 1 1/4 yards fabric. Okay? Now you could make this on a piece of plastic if you have some graphic, you know, plastic. But I want to show you how simple it would be to make your own. This is 1 inch wide, so you just need 2 strips that are 1 inch wide by 4 3/4. Cross them to each other and tape it, and there's your cross. Now, when I laid mine on here, I tried to get as much of my turquoise. That's what I wanted more than anything. So I got as much of it as I could, which wasn't really very much. But I want you to see, you have to put it, you have to put it just a certain way, or you're not going to get it at all. That's what I mean by close, close, close. Yeah, I had all of this left, but it was the width that mattered, okay? Alrighty, so that's how you make your template. 4 3/4 inches by 1 inch wide. Yeah, 4 3/4 by 1 inch wide, and then just overlap them and tape them. And there's your cross. All right, now, there's your strips, and there's your crosses, and there's what we had left. Now, I want to emphasize again, if you don't want to go buy an expensive jelly roll and you have a lot of scraps, you just start cutting 2.5 inch strips and then get 90 2.5 by 7 1/4. Now, I had, these were not in my jelly roll, the 2 turquoises, but you know, the little girl's favorite colors is turquoise and hot pink, so I wanted these turquoise in there. And out of the jelly roll, I picked all of them that was pink, 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 and left, a lot of them had more red in them, and I left those out. I picked the ones that I liked the best and the pink. So I'm going to have 5 of the jelly rolls, because you get 5 out of each strip. I'm going to have a lot of duplications in my in this quilt, but that's okay. If you want to cut out 90 different colors, patterns, you sure can. You know, try to remember, there is no quilt police, and this is your quilt, and you can do as you so please. There's just no rules and regulations. So be creative, use 90 different colors and patterns, or duplicate them like I have. I have, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got about 13 different patterns. So I'm going to be having one alike, one on each row for sure. So it's all right. It's my quilt. It's okay. All right, now this is my web. It's Pellon, I believe, and I just traced this out on there, and I need 12 of them. And of course you press this side to your fabric, and it looked to me, in fact they told you to cut this out 1/4 inch wide past your cross, which tells me that they turned under this applique. I do not like to do that. I don't like the looks of it. I am just doing this applique down just as it is, not turned under or anything. And it is going to be blanket stitched on the machine, down all the way around. That's the way I'm going to do it. Now, my borders, those great big 6-inch borders, let me get my fabric, because you also need to cut out of your border fabric which is a yard, and you cut out 6-inch strips, and here is going to be my border fabric. And see, this is why I wanted my turquoise mixed in with these, to bring this all tied together. And then also out of the 1 1/4, you got these 16 1-inch strips. You've got all of your crosses, and you also have, let's see, some more, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are for the binding. 6 2.5-inch strips. So now you see all that you had out of that 1/4. These 6 2.5-inch, these 16 1-inch, and your crosses. And you see why we just don't have anything left. So just be very, very careful out of that 1/4. Okay, let's review real fast, because this is all we're going to do today. This is our borders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. These are 6 inches. Here's our 90, 2.5 by 7 1/4. Here is our crosses, X's, whatever you want to call them. There's 12 of them. Here is our 2.5 for our binding. And there are 6 of those and 16 1-inch strips. That's all for the top, okay? That's all for the top. You'll need 3 1/4 for the backing and your batting. And that's all there is to this quilt. That's all there is. So simple. I haven't pressed these yet. So that's how you do your cutting. I hope you wrote it all down and you have it down in your mind. And remember, you can make your own 2.5-inch strips. You do not have to use a jelly roll. If you do, you need 1 of each fabric, and you will have 5 out of each strip. You will get 5 with, oh, I don't know, it's about 4 inches left over. All right, I so hope I made it clear to you. And you need to get cutting and get this all done so you can catch up with me, okay? Thank you for watching.